Okay, it looks like a tree fell down or something. Holy cow. Hi, I'm Amy, and this is A Star Reads, and it's time for another Sunday Sum Up. So this is one of my favorite videos to film, aside from, of course, my TBR game. But I really like doing Sunday Sum Ups because it's a way for me to sort of wrap up the week and prepare for the next week. And last week, I didn't get a chance to do Sunday Sum Up, so I apologize for that, but I'm gonna try and make up for it in this video, which means that it might be a little long, so I just gotta give you a little forewarning for that. Could be a slightly longer video. Last week was my birthday, and it was a wonderful birthday. I got to spend some really quality time with friends, family. It was fantastic. And over the month of February, you guys sent me some amazing gifts, and I really appreciate it. It was a really good month reading wise, and I actually ended up doing some mood reading, which is not like me. I don't mood read very often, but it was fantastic. In fact, it made me want to only do mood reading for right now, at least romance novel mood reading. So I am gonna be coming out with a 24 and 48 hour vlog. I haven't even touched that yet, but I do need to start editing that. And my plan is for that to come out later on this week. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, that's one of my next big videos that I would like to work on and get out there. And it was so much fun. School's been okay. I feel like there's been like time where I haven't had too much work, and then now I'm getting to the point where we're coming close to finals. So now I'm starting to scramble a little bit. Next Wednesday is my final for math, so that'll be a big thing, and I don't know. I'm enjoying my math class this term, but last term I felt a lot more prepared. This term I feel like I'm constantly just trying to keep up. And we're working on fractions and decimals and ratios and proportions and stuff, which is an area of math that I'm not as comfortable in anyways, especially not fractions. But fractions feel good. It was the decimal stuff that I was like, this stuff, like I'm better at decimals, but I think I'm just better at the algorithms, but we're looking at number sense, so we don't really get to think about math from just the algorithm perspective. We have to think about math from strategy perspective. So like that stuff I'm not feeling as on top of. So school is good, but just feeling like, oh no, it's coming up to the end. Am I ready or not? And then the week after, I've got a big project due for my science class, and I've got actually my children's literature course. I'm pretty on top of that, so I don't have too much going on for that one. So that one feels good. So it's not too bad. This term has been a much more relaxing one. I'm a little nervous about next term because I have more classes, and I know that the literacy class is supposed to be really difficult, so like fingers crossed that next term goes well. But anyways, work's fine. A lot of things going on with work, a lot of things. And then life is good. Life is fine. Life is a lot of reading. I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of video editing, and I'm trying to get some things back on track when it comes to like my eating. Exercise still hasn't happened. So, you know, there's still things that I need to work on, but slowly. And we're coming up to the finals, so I know that after this I can take a breath, take a little bit of a break from school at least, and then we'll start on to the next term because it just comes one after the other. So I will be doing 5 book reviews in this video. I want to talk about what I'm currently reading and how my progress is going so far in March. I have so many loud cars in this neighborhood that drive by. They're so loud. I don't know why everybody has loud cars. Okay, another thing that I wanted to do that I have hinted at before, but I did not have time to do, and don't mind the mess back there, but is that Shell had given this to me, what was it, Shell, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, for Christmas. And this is 100 Essential Books, Scratch Off Bucket List. It says, in these pages you will find engrossing adventures, fantastic flights of fancy, heartwarming hero cycles, and more. So I'm gonna go, another one of those loud cars. So today I'm gonna go over this list with you, and we'll see how many I have completed. And then of course my goal in the next however long, my goal in general is gonna be to try and scratch off these books when I can. It's not like a hard and fast 2022, another one. Today is the day of loud cars. It's not a hard and fast 2022 goal at all, but I have been sitting on this for a while and I want to get to it. I want to make sure I have it up to date. So we'll see what I have read. Hello! So I got a couple gifts, and one of them I am going to open for you right now because I knew it was a gift because it came in this beautiful little gift bag. I love these because they're reusable. This was from... Surprise! Wishing you a very happy birthday. Love you and can't wait to see you both in May, from Magda. So Magda got me a gift. Thank you, Magda. Oh, I'm so excited. Magda's gonna come here for Memorial Day weekend in May, and we're gonna do a readathon while she's here. So I can't wait for us to figure out what we're gonna do exactly, and yeah, it's just gonna be exciting. And I haven't seen Magda in a while. Okay, all right, let's see what I got. It's big, whatever it is, it's a big book. Or it's a big book. It's a really big book. Is it one book? Oh, it's a really big book.
Oh my goodness.
That makes me scared. Okay, look how big it is. Oh my gosh, Magda!
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Okay, so I know Magda's been dying to read House of Sky and Breath because she loved House of Earth and Blood so much. I still have not read House of Earth and Blood or obviously House of Sky and Breath, but I was missing out on all the everybody's excitement. And so now I need to read, well, House of Earth and Blood so that I can read this. And I'm just so excited. Magda, thank you so much. This is really, really exciting because like now it's gonna, you know, put a little fire into my butt. And yeah, I've been feeling FOMO. I've been feeling total FOMO. And this is a massive book. I can't wait. Oh my God, look how beautiful this is. This is such a beautiful book. Oh, I'm excited. Okay, yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait. I mean, I can, because, you know, look at this thing. When am I gonna read that? Oh, Magda. Maybe this will be what I read. Well, I'm gonna have to read the other one first. That might have to be something that happens during Memorial Day weekend. Maybe it'll be a Sarah J. Maas Crescent City weekend or something like that. That's not a bad idea. And Magda has been someone who's been very close to my heart for a very long time. So I am just so lucky to have her as a friend. Thank you so much, Magda. This is exciting. And of course, Mom is gonna read it because she's already read the first book. Although she needs to reread it. And then the other gift I got is something I haven't opened yet, but I'm really excited about this. And this is from Shell and Nathaniel. So Shell and I went to high school together and we've been best friends ever since. And she's a wonderful human being. She's just been an amazing, amazing support system. Thank you so much, Shell, for everything you have done for my channel, for me, just in my life, for my well-being, for the days I'm having horrible days. It's awesome. It's amazing to have amazing friends. And so it says, happy birthday, have a whiskey to celebrate. Yes, she knows what I love. And this is cool because it says green line literature glasses. So I'm curious. So obviously it's bookish. I haven't opened them yet because I wanted to open them with you. And we've got this, but we've also, oh, these are cool. Pride and Prejudice.
Oh my God.
Chapter 1. Oh, these are awesome. And then look at, they've got, I don't know if you can see that because the lighting is terrible, but you've got like all the characters, or at least a scene of them walking. And then it is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. So exciting. These are awesome. These are beautiful. I love these. Okay, so they're the same. That's perfect. This is gorgeous. Thank you so much, Shell. I am just so excited about this. Not only did I love the book, but I also am the BBC version of Pride and Prejudice. The older version is my favorite movie. Well, it's kind of a mini-series, right? But it's my favorite thing to be watched of all times. All times. I absolutely love it. I can rewatch it over and over again. And it's just incredible. And these are incredible. So these are perfect for me because I do like to drink scotch or whiskey straight, and so I use these kind of cups all the time. So yay, thank you. I'll use this again on our next reading sprints that we do together, Shell. Or no, for our discussion when we talk about Madship. We have to do that. So that'll be coming up soon as well. Stay tuned for that. I got a lot of videos to do this week. I'm kind of feeling I'm feeling the pressure. Okay, so let me talk about Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This is a middle grade fantasy series. The second book I think is coming out, or it has already come out, but I think it's coming out soon. And I picked up this one because, it's all the rage. Amari and the Night Brothers. Everybody has talked about it. Everybody who likes middle grade or doesn't even necessarily read a lot of middle grade loves this book. And I was just so excited to finally get to it. And I found it on audiobook on Scribd. And so I was like, it's time. It's time to give this one a try. I was a little unsure if I wanted to listen to it on audiobook, but actually it was really good. And the narrator did a fantastic job. I did have to speed it up a teeny bit. Like I think I put it at 1.2 speed because the narration was a little slower, but it makes sense because it's for children. You know, technically it's a middle grade book, so it makes sense that the narrator was speaking a little more slowly. All that being said, it was a 5-star book. It was so good. I really loved it. And it was one of those books where you can just tell it's going to get better and better as the series goes. And it was difficult. There were some things that happened in it that I was like, oh, I didn't like that. I didn't like that because it was hard to see it go in the direction that it went in. But it was creative, it was fun, it felt like one of those amazing child fantasies that we all love, we all grew up loving, but it also feels very modern. So like you've got that like fantastical world where it just feels like you could grow up with this and have very nostalgic vibes, but at the same time it feels like it's very appropriate for the year that we're in. It's about this girl named Amari, and her brother has gone missing. And there is a secret to his disappearance because she knows that he was always like a really good student, a really smart guy. He worked really hard. He went to college. And yet when he goes missing, there's no record of him anywhere. And the police are saying, oh, he probably just got into drugs. He got killed or something like that based on that. Or people go missing like that all the time, especially in the neighborhood you guys are from. And of course, Amari's furious that her brother has been stereotyped this way because her brother has done so much and she knows her brother so well. And so the fact that he's gone missing, just nothing seems right about this. And so then all of a sudden she gets a message from her brother and she's invited into this like secret society and things take off from there. And I agree with all of the Men in Black like comparisons. You know, it is a middle grade, but I felt like it worked really well for any age. I just think it's one of those series that is going to be well loved for a very long time. So I absolutely recommend it. The characters are charming and wonderful, and the story itself has a lot of heart. And yeah, it's just a really good time with good writing. It is officially my birthday, and I received another gift today. It was really exciting. Well, I received it from my mom. So this morning I woke up and there was a gift sitting there for me. And so I opened it up, and the first thing I opened up were 2 books. The first one is Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade, and the second one is All the Feels by Olivia Dade as well. I think there's 4 of them in this series. And I'm really, really excited about this because I've been trying to read more plus-size romances. I just recently read one to watch. It has some significance for me, so I'm excited about these. Mom read them recently and she absolutely loved them, and I've been wanting to read them anyways. So I'm excited to try these out. Really, really excited to try these out. So thank you so much, Mom. And then the next thing I got, she knows that I'm trying to get started on journaling. So I recently received this from Alcrate and I'm going to start working on it in March. Eventually I think I would like to set up bullet journaling, but you know, I'm kind of starting with this first and seeing what things I tend to use more. And so she got me this case holder with a whole bunch of fun pens. Oh wait, there. So some pens, these are like highlighters and different colors. And these just are so pretty. I love the colors. I can't wait to use this. And I'm able to keep it all in here. And then I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna try it out and see how journaling goes. So now I'm excited. So now I have some pens to make it look pretty. So wonderful gifts for my mom, and it's a wonderful day so far. I woke up to snow. Like it started snowing a little bit last night, but then when I woke up there was at least half an inch of snow. So like it was lovely. It was a lovely way to wake up. I love snow, so I don't really get tired of it, but I know up here in Washington we don't get too much of it, at least not where I am. It was cool because this year for Christmas, it snowed on Christmas Eve, and then we woke up to a whole bunch of snow on Christmas Day. And then now, my birthday, it snowed the night before my birthday, and so I got to wake up to snow. So like, things are working out for me in the snow department, so I'm really enjoying it. Kind of just staying in today. I do have plans this evening. I'm going to go out with my neighbors. My neighbors are wonderful. We're very lucky to have such good neighbors, and we're going to go out to dinner. I'm excited just to celebrate a little bit for my birthday, and then tomorrow night my mom and I are going to a nice restaurant for dinner, which will be really lovely because we haven't been to any fancy restaurants in a while, and it'll be nice to dress up. So on February 26th, I finished Stars Above by Marissa Meyer, which makes me feel fantastic because at this point, I'm completely caught up on the Lunar Chronicles series. So that's one series that it's still on my list because there's a little Choose Your Own Adventure ebook coming out in March. So like, I can't cross this one off of my list of series that I haven't completed yet. But I am up to date, and that feels fantastic. And it also feels fantastic because this was one of the books we were supposed to read for Lunar Long that I never got to read. So I'm done, and I'm going to give this one 4.25 stars. I really enjoyed it because even though maybe every single story in this wasn't as exciting as some of the books or the other things that had gone on when I was reading the series, it still was all these people that I love and getting to know a little bit more about them and a little bit more about their back history, and I just enjoyed every moment of it. One of my favorite ones was actually The Princess and the Guard, and I really loved that one because I feel like in the whole Lunar Chronicles, Winter and Jason were two of the characters that we didn't get to know quite as well as we got to know the others, so it was really nice to hear their backstory, and yeah, that one added a lot for me. And then I thought that the little android was cute because it was based off The Little Mermaid, and I kind of figured it out while I was reading it, and I was like, oh, that's so clever, because most of these stories were retellings, right? We had Cinderella, we had Little Red Riding Hood, we had something else. Oh, Rapunzel. We had Rapunzel. And so I just loved that she kind of threw in another one at us. Like, it was fun. And that one didn't really have as much to do with the whole Lunar Chronicles series, but I just thought it was kind of cute. And, you know, I was really excited to find another retelling within all these retellings. And then I really liked the mechanic because we got Kai's perspective. And if you don't know, Kai is my favorite male character from the Lunar Chronicles. Well, at least I wouldn't say he's my favorite, I would say he's the kind of male character I would have been into in my younger years. But then we've got Something Old, Something New, which is the last story in this, and it's the story that happens after the Lunar Chronicles, the main books, and actually it also is what follows Wires and Nerve, the two graphic novels that are surrounding Aiko. So that was a great way to end this. I got a chance to revisit all these people. I got a chance to finish out the series. And then Marissa Meyer's like, I'm gonna come out with a 10-year anniversary Choose Your Own Adventure book, which I'm actually very excited about. It sounds like fun. I hope I don't ruin everything and screw it all up. Because, you know, choose your own adventure. But yeah, this was so much fun. 4.25 stars. I can't go too much into detail about it because it is part of a series, but if you love the Lunar Chronicles and you just want more, this is a great way to get more. The last day of the month, and I finished Flora and Ulysses by Kate DiCamillo, and 3 stars. 3 stars. The humor, the quirkiness, didn't hit me quite right. It just didn't work for me. And I know that this isn't for me, this is for children. And I could see children absolutely loving this. But, you know, sometimes some things just don't work for your own personality or the way you enjoy consuming books or whatever. And this one just, it wasn't it. I ended up giving it 3 stars in the end because for a long time, this was like 2.5, 2.75. In the beginning especially, I wanted to DNF this. It just wasn't working. The humor wasn't funny. It was too strange. I didn't like the characters. I didn't even like Flora. Like, I didn't like a lot about this, which made me feel really bad because I know that a lot of people do love this. I can see how children would love this. I can see how they would enjoy the quirkiness of this, and it is fun. There are some fun ideas in this, but I just didn't get along with the writing. I didn't get along with the character development. I just didn't get along with a lot of things about this. I do think it started redeeming itself after a while. I got a little bit of feeling towards some of these people, and it was clever. Like, there were very clever moments of this. I could see how other people might enjoy it. Does that make sense? I could see how other people might enjoy it. One of the things I really did like that I think has a lot of value for a chapter book for children, especially children who are not comfortable reading or are working on their reading or don't really love reading. There were sections in this where there were like comic strips and stuff. And I thought that that was very helpful for students who may like comics, but they don't necessarily like chapter books, but this could give them an opportunity to get more into chapter books, you know, like sort of like a gateway sort of thing. Yeah, it was tricky. It was tricky because I just really was not enjoying it in the beginning, and I wanted to put it down, so I guess that even makes it lower than a 2. It makes it closer to a 1 star. But I just kept at it because, you know, it's easy to read, and it did grow on me a little bit as we went along, but not enough to be more than a 3. I thought it was good. I see the value in it. It wasn't written for me. However, I did end up watching the movie, and I loved the movie. I was like, well, if the movie was it, that's 5 stars. Like, I really ended up loving the movie, which I found on Disney+. And the whole reason I read this was because for school, we're supposed to watch a fantasy movie and then create this game board or something, which I haven't done yet, so I can't show you. But I don't really like watching movies based on books before I've read the book, so I wanted to read the book first. The movie did everything that the book didn't do for me. So all the things that I think would have made the book more enjoyable for me were done in the movie. So it's almost like the screenwriter was like, okay, let's adapt this for film, and we'll change all the things that weren't so great. Like the quirkiness in the movie made sense. And the relationships in the movie were so much better. The villain changed in the movie. That was so much better. So much better. Yeah, it rarely happens that I think the movie is like leaps and bounds better than a book, but this was a case where that was true. And so I know that Kate DiCamillo is a very popular writer, and I would be interested in trying more of her works, but I just know that this just didn't work for me. Okay, so it is March 4th, and last night I finished my first book of March, which was City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. So that was fantastic because it feels good. I feel like I'm getting my groove back when it comes to reading. But as far as that book goes, we had a live show discussion on Friday, and I will link that up here and down in the description box below. It is spoilery, so if you haven't read the book yet, beware of that. But this is the series about a girl named Clary. She has this relationship with her mother, which has always been a little off. And she's going through the normal teenage things, life. Things are okay, but they could always be better. And at the very beginning of the book, she goes with her friend Simon to this nightclub. And at the nightclub, she sees this guy who she's like, oh, he's kind of cute. She's kind of keeping her eye on him because, she's like, maybe I'll get up the nerve to talk to him. Well, this one girl walks up to him and kind of convinces him to go into this closet with her. And Clary's like, oh, okay. I guess I see what's going to happen here. But then she sees 2 guys follow the pair into the closet. And she's like, wait a minute, something's not right here. So she goes and sneaks into the closet. And while she's in there, she sees them kill the guy that she was kind of interested in. And it freaks her out. But he disappears. And there's a lot of stuff going on here that she doesn't quite understand. And so she ends up getting pulled into this world of shadow hunters. And wow, this is a roller coaster of a book. And I think that my rating is going to be a 4-star because I did enjoy this book for a lot of reasons. And there's so much excitement that goes on in this book. But it is very YA, and it does feel like a debut novel. Like, this feels like somebody's first novel. And one of the things I was feeling the whole time I was reading it was like, Cassandra Clare, you don't have to use every single idea you have in one sentence. Because I felt like she had so many ideas and so many things she wanted to make sure she got on the paper that she would jump from one topic to the next so rapidly. And not just topics, not just events, but also emotions. Like, the emotion would go from this to that to this to that so quickly that I was kind of getting a little whiplash. And in the beginning, we weren't quite getting as much of the character building or the world building as I would have liked. And so I was feeling more like somewhere in the 3-star range. But we hit a point with the chapters where I was like, okay, this is what I want. We were getting a little more back history. We were getting a little more information about the individuals within the story. And so I felt like there were a lot of moments that I really enjoyed. And then the action was just intense. It was nonstop. I did have a lot of fun with it. And so that's why I give it 4 stars, because sometimes, even if the writing's not what I want it to be at the time, if I'm enjoying myself, then that's a really big, huge bonus for me. And I had a hard time putting this one down, and I got through it really, really quickly because it's an easy book to read. There were some things, of course, that were a little upsetting. And if you know, you know. Yes, it's upsetting. But I am looking forward to continuing on the series. And I'm so glad we're doing this with a group of people. That has been a blast. I'm enjoying it even more for the experience of reading it with other people. And then just today, March 4th, I finished my second book for the month. And this is a contender for my favorite book for 2022. It's The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. And it's incredible. Incredible. I recently had some reading sprints where people were giving me suggestions for audiobooks that are considered really great audiobooks. And someone mentioned that Elizabeth Acevedo actually narrates her own books. And I was like, oh, I'm interested in that because I do have With a Fire on High, which I want to read physically because I own that book. But I have been interested in reading Clap and You Land. I hadn't really thought about reading The Poet X, but, you know, when I looked up the audiobooks, that one was only 3.5 hours long. And I'm like, well, let me give it a try. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Who would have thought that I would have loved poetry this much and would have loved, it was, I'm lost for words because I can't tell you how much I loved this. The poetic style was gorgeous. The amount of emotion conveyed by the way that Elizabeth Acevedo recites her poetry. I mean, like, I cried so many times listening to this audiobook because it was so beautiful. The emotion was so real. She has turned me into a poetry lover. And the story was hard and it was gritty, but it was real and it was coming of age, but coming of age in a time when this character is dealing with so many emotions, but it didn't feel like trivial in any way. It was unbelievable. So if you have a chance, I mean, I know that I'm not being very concise and I'm not giving you a very good review of it, but it was just so good and I feel like you have to experience it. And so I do recommend listening to it on audiobook. I imagine it'll be just as beautiful reading the poetry in the book for The Poet X, but I think for your first time going in, listen to the audiobook. It's about this young girl named Xiomara who's in high school and she is dealing with her mother and the relationship between her and her mother, dealing with her relationship with her faith, and because her mother is so religious, how much pressure that puts on her. She's dealing with romance. She's dealing with the fact that she has a body that is so much more well developed than other girls her age and how that has put a lot of strain on her life. She's a twin, and so she's dealing with her relationship with her brother. And it just, there are so many elements to this. It's art. It's art. It's some of the most beautiful art that I have consumed recently. And so if you get a chance, please check it out and let me know your thoughts. If you've already read The Poet X, let me know in the comment section down below. Did you read it physically? Did you listen to the audiobook? Did you find that reading it physically was as amazing as listening to the audiobook? Because I do want to get a copy of this book, but I'm like, will I feel the same as I feel about the audiobook? I'm not sure. So it is time for my scratch board, and I'm excited about this. One of the things I should mention, though, is that there are some of these that I have read that I'm not going to scratch off. And that's because either it was a long time ago, or I just don't remember enough, or I want to reread it anyways. So there may be some of these that I should technically scratch off that I'm not going to. So I will be going through these fairly quickly because there are 100 of them, and I don't want this video to be 5 hours long. But I will try and talk about them as I go through, and we'll see how that goes. We'll see how the editing of this goes. I'm hoping it will be okay. So row number 1, I have already scratched off 1984 by George Orwell. I gave that like a 3-star, 3.5, I can't remember. I enjoyed the content because I thought it was really interesting and creepy, but the characters just were not likable. And for some reason with that particular book, that was a problem for me. Now, I will probably read it again because I have read another George Orwell that I really liked. I've never read Animal Farm. Is that on here? Probably. And maybe my opinion will change on a reread. You never know. Okay, so we've got Mysterious Island by Jules Verne. Have not read that. I don't think I've even heard of it. Antigone by Sophocles. I feel like I might have read Antigone at some point, but if I did, it was a very long time ago and I don't remember it at all. So that's not going to count. The Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin by Benjamin Franklin. I think this is really long. Isn't this one like super long? I've not read it. We've got Don Quixote by Miguel Cervantes. I have not read Don Quixote. I think I'd be excited about it. I don't know. I haven't heard too many people talk about that one recently, but you know, I will read it eventually. Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. So I read Romeo and Juliet in high school. I've read Romeo and Juliet, I'm pretty sure since then. I've seen so many plays, many adaptations. I feel like I have enough of an experience with Romeo and Juliet that I could scratch that one off. So that's going to be one I'm going to scratch off. The Story of My Experiments with Truth by Mahatma Gandhi. I haven't heard of that one. I mean, I know who Gandhi is, but I have never heard of that book. So that's one that won't get scratched off. The Autobiography of Malcolm X by Malcolm X. Have not read that. Percy Jackson by Rick Riordan, no. That is one that I did start, did not get a chance to finish. I will be reading that series come the summer with James from James's Space. So I'm excited about that. That'll be good. I can scratch one of these off later in the year. And then we've got Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. No, I have not read that. So starting off not very well, but I will be scratching off Romeo and Juliet. So 1, that's good. 2, technically, from this row. Yeah, does not bode well. Does not bode well. Okay, row number 2, we've got Sophie's World by Justine Gardner. I have heard of Sophie's World. I don't know what it's about. I have not read it. A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. I have read that. I can scratch that one off. And I will say that this is a very dense book about theories and concepts that are meant to be written for the layperson and so that everybody can enjoy it, but it is still a tricky book. So if you do end up reading A Brief History of Time, just know that it's not an easy work to get through. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I don't know if I want to scratch this one off yet because it's been a long time since I read The Great Gatsby. Okay, so I don't have Great Gatsby marked off on Goodreads, which means that it's been a very, very long time since I read it. I probably read it in high school. So I don't feel comfortable scratching that one off until I've reread it. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. That's another one where I read it when I was very young. So I'm not going to scratch that one off until I reread it. Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela. This is one I do want to get to, I just don't know when, but I have not read it. Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. No, I haven't read anything by Agatha Christie yet, which is unfortunate. So that hopefully can happen at some point, because at least anything by Agatha Christie, right? It'll happen. I'm sad to say that I have not read Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, or Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, or or Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. And Steinbeck's an author I love. What is wrong with me? These are 3 that I should have read. I should have read Frankenstein. I should have read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I have this one. I have Grapes of Wrath. These 2 especially. How embarrassing. I will be getting to those. But I have read The Color Purple by Alice Walker recently. I actually read it during the Reading Rush in 2019, I think. So I have a vlog about that. I will put that up here so you can check it out if you'd like to. So for row number 2, looks like I'm still only scratching off 2. So it looks like we're doing so far 2 for each row. But I have good feelings about row 3. Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I have not read that one. Big one. Another Charles Dickens. You know, Charles Dickens, I loved A Christmas Carol. So I have a feeling I'm gonna like Charles Dickens' writing style because I really liked his writing style in A Christmas Carol. So eventually I'll get to Charles Dickens, but I really haven't read anything by him aside from A Christmas Carol. Then we've got Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. Of course, I've definitely read that one. Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. I have not read that one. The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Okay, this isn't actually going better. Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. I have read that one. I can scratch that one off. We've got The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. I have not read that one. I'm not sure how excited I am about that one. I had listened, or at least started listening to the radio cast. I was not getting into it at that time. So maybe it was just like when I tried to listen to it, it just wasn't doing it for me. I will come back to this. I will definitely read this. American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. No, I haven't read that either. I'd be interested in that one though. I've never even watched the movie actually. Macbeth by William Shakespeare. I have read Macbeth. Do I remember it well enough? Yeah, I think so. I think that I could safely scratch off Macbeth and feel okay about that. So I'm gonna scratch off Macbeth. The Lord of the Rings by Tolkien. Yes, I have read The Lord of the Rings. So that actually was a good row. That was better. That was more than just 2 per row. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Feeling strong. Ready for row number 4. Hound of the Baskervilles by Arthur Conan Doyle. I started reading some of the Sherlock Holmes books a year, 2 years ago. I did not make it to the Hound of the Baskervilles. So I haven't read that one yet. But I did make it like up to that point, I think. So this would be one of the next ones I would need to read. And so that's good. That's not so bad. Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I have read that one. Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway and Mary A. Campbell. No. Ulysses by James Joyce. This is one of those books that scares the crap out of me. I think I've tried to read it twice, and I'm hoping to tackle this beast at some point. So it will happen. A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. I have not started the Game of Thrones series, but I have the first book. I have this one on my shelf. The English Patient by Michael Ondaatje? I don't know how to pronounce that. I apologize. But I don't think I've even seen the movie The English Patient. Have not read the book. I don't really have too much desire to read that one, but you know, if it's on this list, I'll read it, I guess. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. I do want to read that one. I just know that that's another hefty one, so that'll happen at some point in the future. The Commitments by Roddy Doyle. I've heard of this one, but I don't know anything about it, and I have not read it. Oh, this row's actually not turning out well. The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. And finally, we've got Animal Farm by George Orwell, and I did mention already that I have not read that, so I think I've only got one on that row. That's yucky. Okay, let's go on to row number 5. Let's just move along. Okay, so row number 5, we have got The Diary of a Girl by Anne Frank. I have read this. I will scratch that one off. We have Bridget Jones' Diary by Helen Fielding. I have read this. I wasn't a fan of it as much as everybody else was at all. Like, I wasn't a fan of this, but I will scratch it off, and I may reread it at some point. Then we've got Dracula by Bram Stoker, one of my favorite classic horror books. Absolutely love it. Read it multiple times. So look at that. 3! And Pride and Prejudice. This is amazing by Jane Austen. Yes, I read that last year. This is good. Then we've got Misery by Stephen King, and this is where my streak ends because I have not read Misery. I do want to read it. The movie was so unbelievably depressing that it was really hard for me to enjoy the movie, and it makes me worried about how I'm going to enjoy the book. But everybody loves the book, so I do want to read it. And I am a fan of Stephen King, so like I will get there. Then we've got Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. I've read The Magician's Nephew, so I've read one. But I'm going to be doing a full read-along of this in the summer as well. So the Chronicles of Narnia I'm going to be reading along with Christine from The Autistic Reader. But when I mentioned it in one of my sprints, I had at least 3 or 4 people who said, I want to join. So it sounds like it's going to be a decent group for the Chronicles of Narnia. So I'm going to figure out how that's going to work come closer to summer. Hamlet by William Shakespeare. I have not read Hamlet. Actually, it's funny because I've never even seen an adaptation or a play production of Hamlet. Hamlet is one that is so well known, so well loved, and I have no experience with Hamlet whatsoever. We've got The Odyssey by Homer, and I still haven't even finished the Iliad, so no, I haven't read that. And yeah, shameful. Okay. We've got Moby Dick by Herman Melville. That's another one where I'm not sure how excited I am to read that one. I probably will end up reading it, but I don't know. I've just heard such mixed things about Moby Dick. I want to read all these classics just because I do tend to enjoy classic works, but that one's one that's never really been at the top of my list. Let's just put it that way. War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Another one, not at the top of my list, but I'll probably read it at some point. So let's see, for the 5th row, it was an amazing start, and then nothing after that one. So I don't think I've exceeded 4 books in a row yet, which is, okay, well, let's see if we can do better. I don't know. Okay. 438 Days by Jonathan Franklin. I have never even heard of this book, so I have no clue. Never heard of it. Same with How to Be a Champion by Sarah Millican. Never heard of that one either. If you know anything about these 2 books, let me know in the comment section down below, because I have never heard of the authors, never heard of the books. These are essential books, huh? The Romanoff Sisters by Jules Verne. I have heard of Jules Verne. I have not heard of the Romanoff Sisters. So no, I have not read that. But I have read The Martian by Andy Weir. So I do get 1 on this row so far. Thank goodness. I did love The Martian. Absolutely love The Martian. I actually do have a discussion of The Martian with Shell, which I will link up here. So if you'd like to see our discussion about that, I think we start off spoiler free, but then we do go into spoilers eventually. So keep track of where the spoilers get introduced in that one. But it was a fun discussion and we both loved that book. Then we've got The Book of Life by Deborah Harkness. What I think is weird about this is this isn't the first book. The first book is A Discovery of Witches. But I will be reading this one. This is the 3rd in the series, I think. And this is the other series that the Bookstar Read-Alongs is reading this year. So this month we're actually reading A Discovery of Witches, and I'll link the announcement video up here. I will be reading Book of Life, I think, in July. I think. So this one will happen this year, so I will get to scratch that off later on. Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. I have not had a chance to read that one. I have heard amazing things though, so I would like to get to that at some point. Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. Another one where this isn't the first book in the series. This is the Red Rising series, which I think it's strange that certain books are on this, but not the first books in the series. But I would like to read the Red Rising series. Then we've got The Girl in the Train by Paula Hawkins, and I do have this book. And this is a TBR vet, like on my physical TBR, because I've had this one for so long. And I am really interested in reading that. It just hasn't happened yet. I'm hoping to get to that one soon. Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee, the author of To Kill a Mockingbird. I have heard of this one. Is this a sequel to that one? I don't know, but I have not read this, so I don't get to count that one. Hamilton, The Revolution by Lin-Manuel Miranda and Jeremy McCarter. No, I have not even watched Hamilton yet. I am the one person on the planet who has not yet watched Hamilton, and I have Disney Plus, so I have no excuse. I wear my shame heavy on my shoulders. But I would like to read that at some point, and I would like to watch it. So, you know, maybe it'll happen. Maybe it'll happen this year. I can't make promises. I can't make any promises on that one because I obviously have not done it yet. So awful. Okay, so for that row, I had one. Oh no. Okay, well, we're back to not doing so well. Let's just go on to row number 7. We've got The Fireman by Joe Hill. No, never even heard of that one. End of Watch by Stephen King. No, I don't think I've even heard of that one. Then we've got Radium Girls by Kate Moore, and I have read that. Yes, I've got one. One on this row so far. I don't think it's gonna get much better than this. Then we've got Artemis by Andy Weir. I know that this one has gotten very mixed reviews. Like, so many people love The Martian, so many people absolutely love Project Hail Mary, but I've heard that some of his earlier works are iffy. Some people enjoy them, some people don't. I do want to read his backlist, so I will eventually read this. Just who knows when. Into the Water, another one by Paula Hawkins, and no, I haven't read anything by Paula Hawkins. The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. So this one was on my last round of Trash My TBR. And it is one that nobody really mentioned at all in the video. Nobody commented on it. It didn't get votes for or against or anything like that. But it was one that I had been super intrigued by, and I ended up getting rid of it off my TBR. And this is the one book that has been haunting me ever since. I can't get this one out of my head. I feel like I made a bad choice. I feel like I should have kept this for my Trash My TBR, and it won't leave me alone. It won't leave me alone. So this is probably gonna end up back on my TBR at some point, because I don't know why. But there are some books you just have feelings about. Books you've never read, books you know not very much about, and yet you feel like there's a connection there. And I have that feeling about The God of Small Things. So I'm probably gonna end up reading this book, and at some point, because I can't stop thinking about it. So that will happen. That will happen even though I trashed it. Okay, The Shipping News by Annie Proulx. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of this author either. So that one is not even on my radar. Another one, if you've ever heard of The Shipping News or if you've read it, let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. I have not read anything by Cormac McCarthy, but I do know The Road is one of his famous works. So I'll have to check out what the Blood Meridian is all about. Play It As It Lays by Joan Didion. I have heard of this one. I have never read it. The Painted Bird by Jerzy Kosinski. No, never heard of that one. Never read it. This one actually has a lot of like books that I've never heard of before, or authors that I've never heard of. So this is kind of a rough row, but I did read one of them. Okay. Yeah, all right, it's getting worse, it seems. I'm not feeling confident at the moment. We'll see. Okay, Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. Yes, I have read that. I can scratch that one off. Good. Things are looking good. I read this fairly recently, and if I can find the video where I talk about it I will link it down in the description box below. I actually really enjoyed it. I can see where people wouldn't, but for me it worked. Naked Lunch by William S. Burroughs. Never heard of it, have not read it. Go Tell on the Mountain by James Baldwin. I have not read this one. I have read If Beale Street Could Talk, and I would like to reread that one. I actually didn't rate that one because when I read it, I was doing a readathon, and I felt like I didn't get the full appreciation of it because I don't want to say I was rushing through it, but I don't think I was in the right mindset for it, and it wasn't what I was expecting. And so I think I need to reread that one with a new perspective, or at least no perspective. I did like James Baldwin's writing, so I'm looking forward to trying out more of his work. Then we've got The Death in the Family by James Agee. I have not read that. Blindness by Jose Saramago. I've never even heard of that one. I've never heard of that. Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce. Have not read that. I haven't read anything by James Joyce, I don't think. Maybe a short story, but it's been a while. The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. This is a bad row. I don't even recognize these books. No. Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. I don't know how interested I am in this one. Let me know in the comment section down below if you've read this one and if you've enjoyed it. I feel like this one gets very mixed reviews. Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. I might own that one, but I'm not positive. Another one where I'm like, Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I'm embarrassed to say that I haven't read that one, so I do need to read that one at some point, and I do want to read that one. So yeah, this row was awful, but I did read one of them. So at least I've read one in every row so far. Okay, let's see if 9 gets a little better, because this is getting sad. All right, we've got Little House on the Prairie by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I'm sure I read this when I was a child, but I don't remember it, so I would have to reread it to be able to scratch it off. The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. I haven't read anything by Faulkner. I haven't read anything. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Yes! I plan on rereading this year, but I feel like I know enough and I feel comfortable and confident enough with this book to be able to scratch it off. The Little Prince, which I do now own. Have not read it, but I own it, so that is not going to get scratched off. But this year it might get scratched off. The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. No, didn't watch the movie either. Terrible. On the Road by Jack Kerouac. Have not read this. And surprisingly, I haven't read it, but I do plan on reading that one, so fingers crossed that it happens. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. I've seen the adaptations, but I have never actually read the book. The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And I have read that one, so I actually have 2 on this row so far. So that's really good. I'm getting a little more confident here. Then we've got Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. Haven't read anything by Franz Kafka. Another author where I'm just not sure if I'm all that excited to read anything by them, but I will do it and see if it works for me. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Coelho? I don't know how to pronounce that properly, but I have read The Alchemist. I think I've read it more than once. I loved The Alchemist. So I've got 3 on that row. So things are looking up. Let's see if we can pull it together and get 4 on the last row. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed we can do this. Watership Down by Richard Adams. We might not be able to do this. No. I had never heard of this classic middle grade book until BookTube, honestly. I think the first person I heard talking about it was John from Hey Y'all Listen Up. Then I heard other people start talking about it. I didn't know this existed until fairly recently. So I do want to read that one. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. I have read this one. I read it during a 12 Days of Christmas Carol Advent Calendar Challenge, the first round. So I will link that video down here in the description. And then The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. I know I've read The Giving Tree, but it has been so many. Have I read it more recently? I'm gonna wait to scratch this one off because I think I should reread it. It's not long. It won't take me very long to reread, so I'm not gonna scratch that one off, even though I probably could. I probably could scratch that one off. A Wrinkle in Time by Madame L'Engle? No. My childhood was lacking because these seem like mostly children's books. Not all of them, but mostly seem like more middle grade type of books. And I am surprised to say that I haven't read a lot of these. So when I was a child, these were not the books I was reading. I was not reading A Wrinkle in Time. I was not reading Charlotte's Web. I love the movie though. I watched Charlotte's Web many times. And so I do want to read this one. I know it's very popular. Just hasn't happened. The Stranger by Albert Camus. I have not read this. It will happen. It will happen. I do want to read this one. We've got Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. And this is one that I don't know how excited I am to read it, but I will read it for this. I know that it has a lot of problematic elements to it, but that is true in a lot of classic novels. I am curious a little bit. I think this is one of those ones where I would read it if a book club I was in wanted to read it, or I would read it if somebody wanted to buddy read it. I don't want to buddy read it anytime soon, so don't put anything in the comment section down below. But one day I'll read this one. Then we've got Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Yes, I should have read this one by now, but I have not read it. It will happen though. I do want to read this. And Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I'm not going to scratch this one off. I did read it. I read it in high school, but I don't remember enough to be able to say, yes, I feel confident in scratching that off. Then finally, we've got The Hobbit by Tolkien, and I have read that. I will scratch that one off. I did not get 4 in this row. So things aren't looking so good for my scratch board. It's not going to be amazing. But let's take a look at the completed scratch board. So this is what it looks like at the end. Not so great. How many is that? 20 out of 100. Oh, am I missing any? So that's not amazing, actually. That's not amazing at all. So I have a lot of work to do. But the nice thing about this is that going forward, when I scratch this off, and I scratch it off with you, we'll just be doing one book at a time, so it won't be as long of a recap. And so during my Sunday sum ups, if I end up finishing any of these books, I will be scratching it off for you so that we can keep track of where I'm at and how far I have to go. So I have 80 books to read to complete this 100 essential books list. That's a lot. So thank you, Shell. Thank you so much for this wonderful gift you gave me. Of a really big TBR. But this was fun. It was fun to see how many of these I've actually read and how many I haven't. And if you have been following along, let me know in the comment section down below how many of these you've read. If you've read more, I'm sure you've probably read more than 20. Maybe you haven't. Or if you haven't been following along with counting how many you've read, let me know in the comment section down below about some of the ones that I mentioned that I've never heard of before. If you've read them, let me know what you thought about them, or just tell me what you thought about some of these. Did you enjoy them? I think I enjoyed most of the ones that I read that I was able to scratch off. I don't think any of these were really low-rated ones. So that's interesting. So, so far, would I say they're all essential books? If you like classics. I mean, they're not all classics, but I mean, of the ones that I've read that are classics, I would say if you like classics, then yeah, they're essential classics to read. If you don't like classics, then no, nothing's essential. Nothing is absolutely essential. All right, so I know this has been a hefty video so far, so bear with me. We are almost there. We're almost there. We're gonna make this. I'm going to talk to you about my current reads, and at the moment, my focus is on A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I have not made it very far yet. I'm just there, but I'm going to be working on this quite a bit today, and this is the book for the Bookstar read-alongs for the month of March. I can tell already that I'm going to enjoy this book. Like, I already like the writing style. I'm already very intrigued. I'm liking the characters so far. I think this is going to be a good one. And then the other book that I have started is Ship of Destiny, which I've only read a little bit of. I'm going to be reading this all throughout March. This is the buddy read that I have going with Shell, Magda, and my mom. And we're actually going to be doing our discussion tomorrow, well, Sunday. So today, technically. And once I edit our discussion and put it up, we will have the Mad Ship spoilery discussion available. So keep an eye out for that. After that, I will feel free to continue on this series. I'm planning on doing a certain number of pages a day with both of these. Also, for our poetry, Mom and I had planned on finishing this in February, but things got a little busy towards the end. We've got less than 15 poems left, I think, so we are almost there with Into a Towering Passion, poems on love. And this has just been so much fun to read, because a lot of these poems are a lot older. So it was interesting to see what people thought of love and how they wanted to express love, like in the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, all the way through time. And of course, with any compilation of short stories or poetry, you're gonna find that there are certain poems or stories that you love a lot more than others. I will tell you, our buddy William Shakespeare, he's a dirty guy. He's a really dirty guy. His poetry had us laughing so hard because I was like, whoa, Billy, what's going on? What's going on? Very dirty. And then, of course, I am still at the same place I was previously with The Bitter Fog. I just did not have a chance to read that, and that is one that I am going to try and finish this weekend, if not this next week. That one has to get done. Like, it's been just way too long. So I'm going to be working on that one alongside my certain number of pages a day for these. We'll get our poetry done this week, and I'm riding pretty. Some of the books that I would like to get to this week are Fruits Basket Volume 3 and Front Desk by Kelly Yang. So these are two that I'm hoping to start and finish this week. Those are my goals. So that's where I'm at the moment. I do have children's picture books that I need to continue reading. I got to get caught up on that. But other than that, it's gonna be a week of getting ready for all my final assignments due with school. And so I don't know how much time I'll have for reading, but I'm hoping I can just keep it a steady pace, because I have a lot of books to get through this month. So please let me know in the comment section down below, what was your favorite book that you read in the past 2 weeks? Or what was your least favorite book that you read in the past 2 weeks? I would be really curious to hear if you've had anything amazing that you would love to share. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can see how amazing my March is, because I am hoping for an amazing month. Fingers crossed. I want a good March. I'm ready for an amazing month. I'm excited about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.